Podcast. I'm Michelle, and I have a lovely guest, Karla, today, who's going to share her experience with connected parenting. And I'm so glad she's here. And thank you, Karla. Will you introduce yourself?
Thanks so much, Michelle. Sure. So my name is Karla. I'm from Cape Breton, which is an island in Nova Scotia, Canada. I have 3 kids. Nolan, who is 5, he'll be 6 in just a couple of days. Desmond, who's 3, almost 4, and Celeste, who is my baby. She's 1. I am a very busy mom with 3
Ah,
kids. I'm also a lawyer, so I am very busy with that. And my husband is a family doctor, so he is also busy. We are just busy, busy, busy.
oh
So
my
finding
goodness.
ways to bring peace into our home and calm the chaos, that we are all about it.
Okay, good. I'm so glad. Wow, you are busy. That sounds like a lot. But you're in that stage where everyone's, getting a little bit older and able to, you're out of the baby stage almost right there
Yeah.
at the edge.
Yeah.
So tell me, I know you've been doing this work for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, how long have you been doing this kind of work?
So in there's some things that I've always done. I've never been punishment. I've always tried to stay away from. I'll admit they have snuck in, but I was never into punishment. So we agreed from the beginning we weren't going to do that. But I guess I fell into a trap of I didn't know what to do when my kids start to resist. So I became the parent who yelled, and I hated it.
Yeah.
In a good place for my kids, but it was right. So that part, I guess when my oldest was about 2, and started to opinions and desires and thoughts very known, and they were not always mine. So that really triggered things. And he's a very sensitive kid. He's very strong-willed. We have found out he has ADHD. He may be on the autism spectrum as well. We're still working that out. So his brother was born around the time he was 2, and things just got chaotic. So I started really diving in to so many things. I read all the books, did various programs, did lots of things. I found you, I don't know, maybe a year ago or so, give or take, and I really dived in more, I guess, maybe last April, May. That's when I really committed to special time. And it's funny, I remember when I did that because we had an ant infestation, and I picked up my oldest from school, and we had to just drive around because the like the guys were there, and they sprayed all the poison or whatever, and took forever, and he hated it. And recently he was talking about that, and he was like, I really didn't like being out for that long drive. We didn't get home. And he's like, we didn't do special time then, though, so it was okay. We didn't miss out on anything. I
Oh,
thought, oh my
that's very
goodness.
poignant.
Yes.
Very
And that was just
poignant.
last spring that happened. So somewhere around there, I got really committed about the daily special time. And that has definitely made a huge difference.
Yeah, good for you. Okay, so tell me about, what were some of the behaviors? What were some things that were really hard before last spring?
Um, my oldest is definitely my most challenging child. He will just decide he doesn't want to do something, or he doesn't like something, or he's very sensitive to different things, sounds, taste, things, the way they feel, just whatever. And something just sets him off, and we would just lose him. It could be a couple hours where he'd just be in a full blown tantrum, and there was no connecting. We couldn't get through to him, and it would happen so easily. And I know you say that kids need to get those tantrums, but it was overboard. Like, he wasn't able to really enjoy his life, and as he would get more upset over things, my tolerance level would get lower and lower and lower, because this was happening very, very, very regularly.
Mhm.
So I mean, he still has these moments sometimes, but they're not as long. We're
Yeah.
able to get through them a lot quicker. I wouldn't say we feel that sense of connection right away after. I do with my 3-year-old, absolutely. My 5-year-old, not really. We have to do things a little bit differently, but we do get through them quicker. And he gets less triggered by things. And I think it's the connection. We really do the special time. And there's been times where he's been having a sticky moment, and he has said to me, "Can we do some special time?"
Oh,
And we
wow.
do this thing where sometimes we do this extra 5-minute bonus special time, and we'll call
Mhm.
it like bonus special time or extra special time. And he'll tell me sometimes when he needs it. And then I see him being so much more relaxed after.
Isn't that
And it's
crazy
not,
that he
yeah.
knows that he needs it? That's
Oh,
amazing.
he knows so much. It's amazing
Yeah,
how he's so in tune with his own feelings. He just doesn't really know what to do with them. So the
he's
fact that he
being
can ask me for that, Like,
Yeah.
it's life changing.
Yeah, that's so good. What other things
Hmm.
besides the big meltdowns with him did you see?
We've definitely seen a lot more cooperation. I
Yes.
I have an example just from today actually. So we're in Whistler in BC skiing this week, and this was our third day skiing. First day he was excited to go, went well. Second day he was complaining it took too long. He was watching something on his tablet, did not want to go at the door. I had to get my husband to take his brother and leave. He was having a meltdown. Things weren't good. So
Mm.
today I thought I'm going to set them up for success. So they could watch their tablets before breakfast. After breakfast, I said no tablets, and they're like, "What are we going to do?" And I was like, "We're going to do special time." We had about an hour before we had to leave. Did special time with both boys. Afterwards, we had a few minutes. He said, "What am I going to do?" I was like, "I don't know. Do you want to color? We can color you like that." And he was like, "Yeah." He colored. Then when I said, "In 5 minutes we have to go," he asked me to set a timer. I was like, "That's a great idea. Set the timer." Timer went off. He was like, "All right, I'm going to go get ready." Zero complaints, zero issues. We walked to our lessons. He was telling me he was excited, and it was like night and day different from the day before.
Isn't
And
that crazy?
yes, it was so amazing. And what I
Yeah.
loved is my in-laws are here and they don't really, they don't know this style, right? And my
Yeah.
mother-in-law commented to me on how much better things went this morning. And I was like, I know. I
Yeah.
used all my tools.
It was an hour and a half, but it's all good.
But it was good and we
It's
felt
worth it.
good,
Yeah. It's
We
so
had
worth it.
cooperation and he's polite and he's friendly. Now he has his moments still,
Yeah.
but without prompting, he'll say please and thank you. He'll offer to bring me things. If he's done with something that had a wrapper, he'll go put in the garbage for me. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so amazing. And I think
Hmm.
so many kids with ADHD, often professionals will say, you should use punishments and rewards with them. You should try charts and stickers and these kinds of things. And I really think
Yes.
it's such a disservice to these kids.
Yeah, I did another program that was recommended to me. It's kind of run locally, and they recommended a lot of those things. And I've heard other parents, some say it works well, and some say it doesn't at all. And
Yeah.
I kind of fibbed my way through it because they got to things like reward charts, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. And they said, well,
No.
you have to stay in the program. And I was like, okay. So I just avoided the topic anytime it came up because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not doing that. That didn't work for me
No.
as a kid. It didn't work at
No.
all. So I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not going to do that. And that was even before I had really, gotten into what you were putting out there. Like I had only
Mhm.
listened to maybe a couple of podcasts, but I just knew that wasn't right for me
No, it's
anyway, for
not
our
right.
family.
And I think, for those kids that it quote unquote works for, it's like, sure, you might be getting the behavior that you want, the compliance or the cooperation or whatever, but at what cost really? Are those kids just shoving their feelings? Are they more concerned about the relationship they share with you? Will they end up being people pleasers? Are they overly compliant and unable to have a voice? Like there's so
Mm-hmm.
many caveats to what works. And so I'm really, cognizant of that
Yeah.
too, that even if you get the behavior, is it really working?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was that kid. We never had the charts at home, but at school we did. And if there was a day I didn't get a sticker, it was like the worst day ever. And it didn't
That's
really mean I did anything wrong. I just, for whatever
yeah.
reason, didn't get it. And I would beat myself up.
That was Esme. Esme came home from 3rd grade because this teacher had the commerce community or whatever, where you would earn points and then you could take the points to get something. And, you could get
Mm.
10 points a day. And if she came home with 9 points, it was like the world was coming to an end. My teacher hates me.
Yeah.
I didn't get the point. And I'm like, okay, wait, what? What are you talking about? And we got to the bottom of it and she said, I'm trying to get the big calendar. I guess the big calendar. There was like this huge calendar that was the final reward. And I said, well, let's go on Amazon and get that calendar right now. let's just
I
take
would
the steam out
absolutely
of
do
it.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anything else that you can remember that's gotten better or that's improved in just your parenting or your kids or anything?
Um, I've had a lot of, I don't know if I want to say improvement because with my 3-year-old or almost 4-year-old, he was only like a baby when I sort of started to get into this, but he was bigger, I guess, when I really dove in. I've seen a
Mhm.
big change in him in that he is definitely extremely connected to me, which is amazing for me.
Yeah.
After he has those meltdowns, I have that moment with him where he's hugging me and he's telling me how much he loves me. they're so affectionate. They both do this. They tell me they love me, and they'll say, "I love you so much, I'm gonna burst with little hearts," or "I love you to infinity beyond," and it just warms my heart.
Cute.
I have also seen them be more affectionate with each other now. We have a lot of sibling issues, so we haven't solved that yet. But
No.
they have moments where they work really well together. Yesterday, actually, whenever we're at a hotel, they fight over who presses the buttons on the elevator. And yesterday, we were walking down the hall to the elevator, and Desmond, my middle guy, said, "Oh, I'm going to press the outside button. Nolan can press the inside," or maybe it was vice versa. I don't remember. And Nolan said, "Well, Desmond, you always get to do that, the outside button or whatever. I want to do the outside, and you can do the inside." And Desmond said, "Okay, Nolan, but when we come back, I want to do, the other way around." And Nolan said, "I think that works. Okay." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was just standing next to them. I hadn't intervened yet because it hadn't gotten bad. I was like, "They just worked this out. Like, what just happened?"
So good. So, so good. That's amazing. The sibling stuff is so hard. So you've seen improvement in the sibling stuff in general?
I have, yeah. I mean, it kind of comes and goes,
Yeah.
but if we were looking at a graph, I think if like up was better, I think it's trajecting up. And
Yeah.
with their little sister, it's so funny. I mean, she's only one, but they tell me to do special time with her, which I haven't like been as, let's set the timer, let's call it special, because she's just so little, right? But the last few months, I've started to do a version of it with her because they're saying, "Well, Celeste needs special time, mommy."
Well,
And
they're
I'm thinking,
right.
well, I
Ugh.
breastfed her twice today. We cuddled. I spend half an hour with her going to bed. She's getting a lot of one-on-one special time. But they're saying that, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's funny. She can't say in sentences what she wants to do, but
No.
she lets me know. She loves to do this thing where she just has me chase her, and I chase her. We do laps around our kitchen island.
So cute. And I mean, it's control, right? They need to have control because
Hmm.
the other times we're with them, it's like feeding and being and whatever. But even at one, they really need to start having control. And the brothers
Yep.
are so cute. They're like,
Oh
give
yeah.
her the special time. That's so
They're
sweet.
making sure I do it.
Keeping you to
They keep
task,
on top
mom.
of me. Yeah. I've heard other people say, "Oh, it's hard to remember to do special time to schedule it in." But if I don't do it, they tell me. They're like, "Mommy,
I
how come
know.
we did special time today?"
Yeah, you know what,
Like,
Carla,
we got to do it.
since you're so in and good with special time, tell me, yeah, how do you schedule it in? Because you've got 3 kids, and now you're doing with all 3 pretty much.
Yeah. So I try to do it back to back if I can.
Mhm.
Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Most days when we all get home from work and school and daycare, we have some time either before supper or after supper. It just depends on how the day goes. My
Mhm.
husband does the cooking, so if there's enough time, like if he's going to spend half an hour cooking, we try to get it in then, and then we'll just delay a few minutes and have supper then. If we get home late and we don't have time, we do it right after supper. So as soon as we're done eating, we go into special time.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we'll squeeze things in with it. So while I'm doing special time with Nolan, he'll take Desmond for his bath and vice versa. If,
Mhm.
if it's a bath night, if we have to do things. So we try to work it in that way. There's only
Does
one day a week that we have an activity in the evenings. That gets tricky, but we sometimes we'll just do a shorter special time. At
Yeah.
first, I was very committed to like 20 minutes or bust. But then sometimes we didn't get it in. So I was like, you know what? If it's 10 minutes today and we do 20 minutes the other days, I still think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And the kids are more connected. So that's
Amazing.
what I do. I also occasionally get in a morning special time. It depends on whether they get up early. I don't like to wake them up earlier than they have to, but if they get up early, I say, "Well, you know what? We have some extra time today and we'll do 5 minutes." And I'd
Yeah.
say maybe once or twice a week we get that in. And they love it. They think that's like an extra special treat. They call it morning special time.
That's so cute. They're so cute. Does your husband do it too?
He does not as much as me. He was a little upset at first because he thought he was doing it and he wasn't doing it, but he thought he was. So I would be doing, say, special time with Nolan, and he'd take Desmond and say, "Come, like, let's play a video game with me, or let's play with our Beyblades," or they'd do something. And the kids weren't as connected with him. And he was saying, "Well, I work more than you do. I'm not around as much." And it's like, "Well, I don't know if it's a quantity thing. I think it might be more quality." I was like, "Maybe you should try doing special time." He's like, "But I do it." It's like, "But I listen to you. You're telling them what to do and they're coming with you, but they're not getting the choice. They're not controlling it." So now when he doesn't have something else to do, he'll say, like again, if I'm with Desmond, he'll say, Nolan, come with me. What do you want to do for your special time with me? And then Nolan
Yeah.
will often pick something completely different than what he thinks he's going to pick.
Yeah.
So now they actually are getting a lot closer. They're willing to go do things with him, whereas before they would scream and cry for me. I'm definitely the preferred parent, but it's getting a little less mommy, 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 which
Yeah.
is nice for me and him because he was kind of sad they didn't want him more, and I was getting a little burned out. So it's really helped us both.
Yes. Isn't it crazy just that little tiny tweak of letting them do what they
Hmm.
want to do? Because a lot of people do, "Oh, I do special time. I hang out with my kids all the time." I'm like, "Hold
Yeah.
on, hold on, hold on. It's just a little different." And it might seem, insignificant, but in fact, for the kids, it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was that person a little bit too.
Yeah.
When I started doing special time, the months leading up to it, I was home. I took a year off when we had our third baby, so I was home every day. You know,
Mhm.
my son was done school at 2 o'clock. The baby would often be napping. It would just be me and him hanging out, and I was like, "How does he
Yeah.
want more? What am I not doing right?"
Right?
But again, it wasn't me saying, "What do you want to do?" It would just be me playing with him, or him showing me something, or sometimes me sitting there working on something that had to get done, and him just playing on his own. And I
Yeah.
felt like I'm there with him, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the same.
Yeah. I think too, not everyone, but the consensus usually is connection is more time, like you said, or like your husband thought, just the time is enough, but it really is
Hmm.
the quality of the time that you're spending with your kids. Like if you're spending the time listening to big feelings and
Yeah.
giving empathy as opposed to trying to shut it down, that's a very different experience for a child. So that's a
Mm.
good note for people to notice that you don't have to be around your kids all the time to have a connected
Hmm.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And just the listening to the feelings, that empathy part, my husband's been really working hard on that because
Good.
he's more of a fixer, whereas I'm much more of a, I want someone to just listen to me, right?
Yeah.
So he's working hard on that, and I think that's helping too.
Good for him. Good for him. So wait, you did
Hmm.
coaching, correct? And that's how you got started? You did coaching with
Yeah,
Allison? Yeah. And you did 6 weeks of coaching with her?
I did. Yeah. Well, I'd
Yeah.
been listening to your podcast for a while before then, and
Yeah.
then I had signed up for the mastermind, and I went through all the modules. I made it to a couple of calls, but then they didn't really meet my schedule. But I was doing the one on one with her, which was, I mean, amazing, right? Because you can
Yeah.
really drill down on your specific things that you're working on.
Yeah, I think that's the difference is that,
Hmm.
every family is different, and it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that connection doesn't work for every family, but it does mean that, "Here, why don't you try this piece, Carla, and see
Yeah.
how it works, and then let's come back and talk about it," and you have that back and forth and, like, the space to really explore the different pieces of connection personally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's so good. Great. So now you're all done. Are you continuing on your journey? Are you still working on all the pieces? Are you
Oh, I am working on all the things. I mean, I just did the 30-day challenge that you
Okay.
had.
Yes.
So
How
I
was
was in
that?
that. Oh, that was really good. I mean, I don't want to say I learned something new, but it reinforces things.
Yeah.
I feel like anytime you learn a new skill, you can't just read a book and say, I know it
No.
all, right?
Right.
Like you really have to practice. You need things to be reinforced. Sometimes you need to hear it in a different way, get different
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
So every time I do something, I tend to pick up something, whether it's just a
Right.
different way of looking at something, a different way to try something, or
Mhm.
even just hearing the same message again and again. Because I can't even tell you how many books I've read on parenting, how many things I've done all the things it feels like, and it's great. But things also tend to get scrambled in your brain, right?
Yeah.
So hearing the things repeated, it's really helpful and it keeps reinforcing. So I'm not done. I know you've got a new day starting for the mastermind, so I'm hoping that works better with my schedule and I can tune
Yes.
into those every week. I have a listening partner now, and
Great.
I'll admit the first day we did it, I felt kind of silly, but then I felt really good after. So I think that's really
Yes.
great. So I'm
Yeah.
going to keep looking at that and just continuously tweaking things and
Yeah.
figuring out what works best as we go. Because I feel like things will change as the kids get older, right? And
Yeah. Things
their
change.
lives change, and
The tools stay the same, but, you apply them a bit differently, right?
hmm.
Empathy looks different from a 2-year-old to a 12-year-old. It just really does, and so does play, and so do all the aspects, but yeah. The 11 o'clock. There's a Thursday at 11 o'clock meeting, and then I think we're gonna add
Hmm.
2 more meetings next month.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
So you'll
without
have
more
more,
choice.
more choices and more. We want to get more meetings for people so that they can come in the
That's
evenings and stuff
perfect.
too. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And there's the threats and bribes thing that's coming up in May. I mean, sorry, in March 8th, 9th, and 10th. And you have free access to that because you're part of the
Yes,
community.
I
So
will. I will probably dive into that. I even now I hate threats and bribes, and sometimes I find myself slipping into them, and I don't
I
even
know.
I don't even realize I'm doing it. You
I
know?
know. I know. They're like the sneaky punishments that get left behind that we don't even think are punishments, but they really are. But we rely on them so deeply, I think, in conventional parenting that they just come out so naturally.
Yeah,
Yeah, they really do.
yeah. It's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah, I still have lots of things to work on.
You're doing
Figuring out
great.
how to hold boundaries without, any sort of threats or
But
bribes. That's a tricky one.
it really is. But you're getting there.
Hmm.
Karla, if you had any advice to give anyone who's starting this work, what would you say to them?
I would say trust the process. I think
Mm,
we learn a lot of things. We learn about empathy. We learn about doing the play. We learn about special time. We try to cut out the threats, the bribes, the yelling. And it's a lot, and you're trying to figure it out all at once. And maybe it's better to, take it one step at a time, give yourself a lot of grace, and
yeah.
understand that you might not see a giant change the next day,
Yeah,
right?
for
Like, it's
sure.
just not going to happen. When
No.
I was working with Allison, she asked me if there's anything big we were trying to figure out. And I said bedtime. Bedtime was this, oh my God, like 2.5 to 3 hour extravaganza between the three kids. It was
No.
awful. We were exhausted. My husband and I weren't seeing each other. It was just not good. So
Mm,
we did all kinds of things to work on it. It wasn't improving. It wasn't improving. We're finally at a better place where my husband and I are switching off. One of us gets Celeste to bed. The other one does the two boys, and we switch back and forth. We've cut our time in half. But what
great.
really made the difference was the boys getting more connected with Alex, my husband, because
Yeah,
they
that
were not
makes sense.
satisfied with him for bedtime. They wanted me. So no matter what, I had to be in there every single day. And he felt like they didn't want him. So he wasn't having that nice bedtime with them. He was feeling frustrated. But now that he's more connected, they're
Yes.
happy with him. Now they still ask if they say, "Oh, it's mommy tomorrow, right?" And he says yes.
They're just
But
checking, just see when
yeah,
mommy's gonna be her turn.
I know. But I will
Yeah.
use different language with them too. Like if they say to me, "Well, we don't get you tonight," I say, "Well, Daddy's so excited to get to do bedtime with you.
Yeah.
He can't wait. Go talk to him about what book you want to read," and they get excited, right? So the problem we were trying to solve, the actions we were taking, weren't necessarily related to how we solved the problem. It was the connection piece over here, right? That
I
solved the
love it,
over
Karla.
there.
This is I think the crux of understanding connected parenting because people will
Hmm.
come with that thing, right? Bedtime, bedwetting, thumb sucking, sibling fights, this and that, the other thing. And I'm like, you can't tackle those things until you get connection fully flowing in your house
Yeah.
because that really is what changes everything.
Oh yeah, it has.
Yeah.
But if we just said, "Oh, we're going to try this thing for 3 weeks and hope our bedtime problems are
Yeah.
solved," we would have thrown in the towel and just been frustrated and done,
Totally. I'm glad you
right?
did
Because it
it.
didn't
Yeah.
happen that quick. But
No.
we're at a good place now, right?
Yeah. Well,
And I
send
feel like
Alex
it's
to
going to
me.
keep getting better. I should.
Send Alex to me. We'll get him shaped up. We'll get him all,
He
piece and
tries. He
parented out.
really tries.
Sweet guy.
He's dedicated. He lets me
Good.
kind of lead the charge, but if I say this is something that's working, he'll go all in as much as he can.
Amazing. You're lucky. You're very lucky. That's
I
great.
am.
And you can tell because your kids are so much more connected to him because he's making it
Hmm.
happen. He's doing the work.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, really. Amazing. Karla, thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so nice to just get to talk about it all. It almost feels like a extended listening partner session.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad. Listening partnerships are awesome. They're so
Hmm.
good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Peace and Parenting podcast. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you next time.